great to be here, and I think I'd like to start off just saying to Matt and his team we partnered with you extremely closely, Matt, and we really value what you do. Other than the data that you provide that we use for great insights, is you bring communities together. And there's a huge amount of value to that, so thank you for that. I also today want to start off by just stepping back and giving you a feel of how we're thinking of the strategy. When we're looking at this landscape, what's the approach that we're taking? Give you a feel for that. And then at the end of the presentation, I'll get very tactical in terms of this is the things you can do. It was interesting listening to Matt in the chat in terms of how much it aligned to the kind of the thinking that we have out there. But the most important thing is we're out there every day trying to build great products. We don't always get it right. But we build the products, you make the magic happen. You're out there in the field every day, busy doing this with customers and making those visions and those dreams come true. So we appreciate that. We also don't take for granted that you choose to do business on our stack. So we continue to try and you put new stuff in your basket every single quarter, month, and year, and make you more profitable in that process. I look after converged communications as a practice lead, so that's it. And you're also going to see us change that vernacular. It's going to become the AI-powered platform for work. So we're moving away from converged communications. You're going to see that because it just doesn't represent everything that we're putting into the platform. So you'll see that change happen as we move forward. Then, I think what customers are looking for is some simplicity. There's really three things. They're looking for simplicity, they're looking for security, and they're looking for the smarts. Simplicity, Matt spoke about it, is that one platform can integrate and do everything I need to do, and I can perform my day of work in that single window. The next one is smart. It's table stakes that a platform that's out there today needs to have AI enabled. It needs to have that capability. It needs to be able to rise to the occasion to deliver on those AI aspirations, and it needs to become a first-party part of the AI strategy, and you're going to see me talk about that a lot. Then security. We've all seen cyber threat just escalate exponentially, so that sits as a core focus for us. I also had when I look at the ANZ region, this is a region that I obviously live in. So I'm a South African by birth, I'm Australian, I live in Perth, and I work in the US. I think it's Tuesday. It's crazy, but that's a world that we can work in. So I really enjoy that. The ANZ region, if I want to test something, I drop it into ANZ because I know they're going to take it, they're going to break it, and I'm going to walk away there with incredible value. I usually find the ANZ region is 6 to 7 months ahead of the rest of the world, including the US. It's an extremely advanced market. And that's across the board, customers plus providers. I recently had the opportunity, and it was probably one of the nicest projects that I've ever had, was we did a global tour. And we went around and we spoke to banks, government organizations, commercial entities, and we really spoke about the AI strategies. Where are they? What are they doing? What are they driving? When talking to some of the banks, the safety and security organizations in Australia and some of the banks, and some of the commercial entities, what absolutely blew me away was how smart the people were that I was talking to. Some of those people, and specifically I'll call out financial services, are way ahead. It's some of the smartest people I've ever met. So that was really good, and that just speaks to the region. This is a region that goes out there, tries stuff, and we're very blessed to have the money to be able to do that. So that's why we're seeing the innovation come out. It's getting tighter, I absolutely can see that, but it's a region that's not scared to experiment. So let's step back a bit. We want to help customers drive impact, and what we're doing is we're bringing Copilot into the flow of work. We're bringing Copilot into the flow of human ambition. And really, this is what it's about. It's about how can customers really achieve their aspirations, what the business outcomes they've been trying to achieve for so many years. How do they utilize AI to do that? So that's really sits at the core of what we're trying to do. And it's for everybody. It's working AI into the rhythm of work. It's for developers. It's for knowledge workers. It's really for everyone. There's no one that excludes or sits outside of this. So that's the encouraging part. What we're also seeing is a very quick move from personal AI to collaborative AI. What I mean by that is, I think the person A is, what do I do, where do I go, how does this help me become more productive, to collaborative AI. Matt also touched on this, and this is where we're seeing the future, and you would have seen it if anyone saw the document we published in terms of frontier organizations. It's about agents. You all are going to have teams of agents that you're going to manage. And whatever you think that time horizon is for that, halve it. This is happening at a velocity that I've never seen before in terms of agent just proliferation into organizations. Everyone's trying it, and that curve is going to happen very, very quickly. But first, I want to share something that I call work IQ. Once again, I'm starting right at the top here. Work IQ, the second is Copilot. We've embedded Copilot into all of our applications, into the total stack. So it sits natively in there, looking at information, looking at flows, looking at data. Then on the back of it, we've got agents. And this is the entry into the world of agents. What we're seeing right now is that entry into that world. But let's start with Work IQ. Work IQ, essentially, this is the intelligence layer. It's the layer that enables Copilot, it enables agents to know your job, what you do, how you work, what are your preferences, where do you spend your time. It's really knowing everything about you. It understands your business, it understands your process, it understands your workflows, but it understands from a business process perspective in terms of how you operate. So it's really an end-to-end. And more importantly, it's got to do this, and it's got to feel seamless. So it's got to just sit in your flow of work and help you at points that you're reaching out without even really being that conspicuous or obvious. But Work IQ is made up of three things. The first thing is data. Data, everyone has it. It's a natural part of it. This is, Matt was talking about the data that we have specifically in telephony, and I'll talk more about that now. But data is everywhere. And how do we take that data, and how do we start to mine and get access to that data? So that's the first part. And everybody has that. It's a native DNA as part of every organization. Then we move to memory. And memory is what gives Copilot the ability to deliver personalized experience. So it's based on your style, your habits, when you want to work, how you want to work, who you want to work with, what projects you prefer to work on. It even works on the nuances of how you're approaching things. So there's a lot of subtle, it's really about your style. It's a very personal thing. And then there's inference. Inference really looks at how you're working and then sees how it can connect those different components to drive outcomes. So it's really, that's the agentic part. It's, I saw the data, I've seen the memory, okay, I know how you work. Now, how can I connect this, and how can I connect agents to that to drive that outcome and just drive a more meaningful business process? But importantly, Work IQ leverages all the goodness that sits in the Microsoft 365 security stack. Once again, speaking to one of the big threats that Matt had spoken about in terms of security. So you're able to harvest and utilize all the goodness of 365. So many of you are asking and being asked by your executives, hey, so what about your AI strategy, and where is it? I'd say it's inside of every one of these applications. This is where work is happening today. And if we look at Work IQ, this is where work happens. When we look at these applications, and remember, this is where we've built Copilot in, you've got billions of meetings, billions of minutes of PowerPoint, Word, Excel, Outlook, all the different SharePoint, OneDrives, all of that sits there. So that's natively built into those applications. That's where work is happening. That's the telemetry I'm talking about, and the insights and the context that you bring. So when I'm looking at Matt as a person, and Matt is working in his day, I'm not just looking at the application Matt is in. I'm looking at Matt's Outlook, I'm looking at his PowerPoint, I'm looking at his OneDrive, I'm drawing context across all of those, I'm drawing projects across, I'm connecting different discussions. So I'm driving a lot of inference over the top of that. So that's where it becomes extremely powerful. Then let's add calling to that. It sits behind Teams. I'm not saying this is fully baked. I'm showing you where we're going. So what you're seeing is a context-aware AI that is looking at everything, soup to nuts. Then we look at agents. Now, many of you are already driving these agents. You already run distributed agents. But what we're going to see is that multiple people are going to leverage and use multiple agents and LLMs. Who saw the Agent 365 announcement at Ignite? Okay, there's a few hands. I'd say spend some time, go and read about that, because really that's going to give you a lot of insight into our strategy and where we're going. What that becomes is an agent orchestrator, because what you've got now is massive agent sprawl. How do you manage that? And, how do you take those agents and how do you put them in a central environment, manage them, orchestrate them, and more importantly, try and drive security over the top? So that's going to become really, really important. What you're also going to see today is and Matt touched on this, is, so who's playing with agents today? Hands up. Okay, good swath of people. Now, same hands. Who's monetizing agents today? Okay, we've got a few. That's good. So this is what keeps me awake at night. Okay, remember, I've got my channel hat on. When I wake up in the morning, it's how do I help work with you as partners to be more profitable? So this is what keeps me awake. It's great if you're a customer, and it's great if you're an organization in terms of driving outcomes, driving processes. But how do you monetize that? How's this going to become the next wave for you as operators or air systems integrators? How are you going to drive money out of this? That's the important part. So that's where I'm spending a lot of my time. And in the room today, there's two of my really important partners in the space. You're going to hear from Craig from NTT. He's going to be on the panel. NTT is doing some incredible work in terms of how they're monetizing agents and driving agentic services. And then you've got Rowan from Switch Connect also. So knock those two guys up, have a cup of coffee, have a beer with them. They're doing some really good work. Now, what differentiates Work IQ from just connectors? And what makes it different? I'd say Work IQ works across all of your data in real time. It has the context, it's got the patterns, it's got the insights. Whereas a connector is a point in time where I'm pulling data and I'm just getting an outcome. It doesn't bring context, it doesn't bring insights, it doesn't bring decisions, it just brings data. So that's the big differentiator between these in terms of why we're driving this strategy. So you can see Work IQ really sits at the center of what we're doing. Okay, I've given you this vision and I've given you where we're going. We're pretty excited about this. We're going to be driving this. But now let's dive a little bit deeper. And I'm going to go really back now. This is the journey that we've all been on. Okay, there's a few of us here with grey hairs, so we've seen the front of that and we're now seeing the back of that. But I think the important part is there's a rich heritage and it's been through many technology transformations. But the one that we're in right now has orders of magnitude bigger than anything we've ever seen. But at its core, nothing has changed since Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone in 1876. Voice is still the way we communicate. Voice is still the asset that we use. It's still our preferred mechanism in terms of the way we do it. And I think what we're going to see is the fundamental shift in the way we view that. I think therein sits a perception problem that we need to drive. The traditional view of telephony is that it's a legacy platform, it's a facilities overhead, it sits in different budgets. It generally sits in an infrastructure or a facilities budget. And one would argue, is that the right place? When we look at and another thing that was spoken about is when we look at the convergence of enterprise telephony versus contact center, those two are just coming closer and closer together. There's very little capability nowadays that sits outside of, that sits in contact center that isn't available in enterprise telephony. There is, I'm generalizing, but it's coming closer and closer together, which means that the ability to take that data and to really drive insights and outcomes out of that data is becoming extremely powerful. The future's calling. Voice is not dead, okay? It's having an absolute, it's being revived in terms of the opportunity. It's the way we engage with AI. There's no better way to engage rather than sitting, typing to an AI. I want to talk to the AI. I want to be interactive with the AI. So it's still going to be the preferred mechanism. It's how do we, as partners and as providers, how do we monetize that? And I think we need to re-envision telephony, okay? I think we need to reframe customer perspectives. And when I say reframe is we need to not think of a voice as a legacy asset that's sitting out there in a separate tier, managed by a separate team, on a separate budget. We need to remember that, and Matt touched on this several times. That is not telephony, it is a strategic data asset. There's more insights and data, business data, sitting in that telephony stream than anywhere else. And one could argue we're mining it today. but not in the context of what I've just painted at the beginning of when I started talking. So that is a strategic data asset. So when your customers are out there and they're talking about telephony and I want to consolidate this and I want to reduce this, this is the discussion we should be having, because there's incredible business impact that can be driven by just taking and harnessing this data. Let's get really tactical. So what's the opportunity to drive transformation? To me, when I look at my channel right now, there's 3 steps, and they're really basic. The first one is do what you do today. Continue to go out there, acquire voice customers, churn out the legacy bases. That's really important, because if you're still stuck with a legacy base, there's no way you're going to be able to treat that as a strategic data asset, because you can't access it. So go out there, churn the base, get them on. Once they're on, drop and AI enable each of those seats. Another thing that Matt spoke about, if you don't do this next step, you will churn that user. You have to go and AI enable that seat. Now, this is another thing that keeps me awake at night, is all the partners are not all AI partners, but this is that bridge that we've got to break. You've got to build that capability inside of your organization. The last part of that is probably the most exciting. And that's where, and Matt spoke about this too, really understanding customer business process. Because when you really understand the customer business process and you're sitting inside of the organization, you're able to help them with their business process, and you're able to start driving agentic services inside of that. And this is where you can start to monetize. This is where it becomes exciting, it becomes highly profitable. So we spoke about the network. AI and the network infrastructure converging, it's going to power the digital experience. The network is becoming increasingly important, and that's one of the things that you have in abundance, is this network assets. So that's really going to hold you good stead as you move forward, because the partners who design and operate with this digital fabric are truly going to lead the next decade of growth. Then, as a good Microsoft person, I said, hey, what does the future of work look like, and who should I ask? So I asked Copilot. And this is what Copilot gave me. Future of work isn't AI or human, it's the seamless collaboration of both. And that's spot on. You're always going to need humans in the mix. It's how AI can come and complement that and make us all more efficient, more profitable, and more importantly, I can start to do the stuff I like. I can focus on the key stuff that I like and I enjoy out of my job. Thank you, everybody. It's been great to be here today. Matt, thanks a lot.